I'm going to be making a dog crate slash sofa table. So it's going to be a table, you know, it's going to be pretty big. It's going to be about 7 feet by about, 2.5 feet. That's going to sit behind one of our sofas, but it's going to have a double dog crate in it. That way, it'll alleviate some room. And we have a dog crate in the house, and it's kind of ugly, so we want to make it look more like a piece of furniture. So, as you can see, I've milled the stock just, square basically to the sizes I'm going to need. I still need to clean it up with a hand plane and all that stuff, but it's milled to final sizes. And then it's going to have steel bars. It's going to look like a prison for dogs, but it should look pretty nice. So just let's talk a little bit about the stock selection. My wife loves the really black furniture, and I like wood color furniture. So she always wins, so we're going to go with black. Besides, our living room's got a lot of black furniture, but what I did want, and this is why I chose red oak, because, well, one, it's cheaper than white oak, obviously, but also when I stain it black, you'll still see the texture of wood. So instead of just looking like painted, smooth, white oak, since it has that really open pores, it'll still look like, red oak will still look like wood. It'll still have that wood grain texture, even though it's going to be completely black. Other than that, all we got left is let's get started. I'm going to start with cutting all the mortises into this, because I can batch them out with a domino, at least into the rails. Into the stiles. The rails, since it's going to have the dominoes in this way, I still have to mark them out based on the, essentially it's going to have, it's going to be one rail, 2 rails, there's going to be a center one on either side, and then there has to be one in between there, so there'll be 5 stiles. The reason for that is because it'll have 2 doors as well, so the stiles will open up the doors. So let's get to it. So that was a stop dado that went from the edge to here, and I got to do the same thing, but since I'm using this as my reference, I have to turn it this way. So I have to start here Luckily I have the domino hole, which gives me a starting point, and then it just goes out to the end. This one goes from one domino to the other, and that's where the dado is going to go from. So as you can see, for the side assemblies, I actually had to cut 4 different ways for these dados. So the first one was just a through dado completely from one side to the other. That gets covered, so no problem. The bottom part of the rail, the bottom rail of the side assembly, will have the 2 pieces coming down, so the dado only goes from domino to domino on this one. Or I guess I could say mortise to mortise, right? The stiles on the side assembly have a solid panel that goes, that's why I'm cutting the dados, because the bottom part is a solid panel, then we have another rail, and then we have bars. So this was 2 different types of cuts. One was starting from the end, just, you know, from the end completely in, and stopping at the mortise that I've already created with the domino. The other one, since I like to reference everything off the same side, I couldn't just start from the end and go to the domino. It had to be the other way around, so I had to start with the domino and go out the end. Easy enough with the router table. Now let's move on to drilling the holes for the bars. Now I'm cutting the holes for the bars of the side assembly, and I've set my fence so that the hole is centered on the piece of stock, and I've drawn my lines. I drew the center one first, and then I go 3.5 inch up from there. Each one gets drilled 3.5 inches on center, and I found out for the side assemblies that's basically even across the whole way. I set a depth stop to go about 1/2 inch because I want the bar to fall down 1/2 inch here, and then the top rail gets cut a little deeper just so that there's a little bit of slop, even though, you know, that way if the metal is cut a little long or whatever. Okay, and here's a little trick. Instead of changing the depth stop on my drill press, I need the top rail to be a little deeper. So all I'm going to do is put a little 1/4 inch piece of plywood down here and cut the holes. It should go down almost 3/4 of an inch. That way I don't have to change the settings on my drill press because I'm going to be cutting more 1/2 inch holes later on. Hey guys, so I'm going to do the first assembly, first glue up, first panel. As you can see, I've pre-stained some of these parts. The panels, since they slip into dados, I like to pre-finish them so that they're finished all the way to the edge, because if you put them into the dados and then finish them, it's hard to get all the way in, and if there's any movement, you might get some color showing. So this is the center side panel. I guess the sides, and then there's a center divider panel. That's what this is. So we're reading 39 and 9/16 heavy and 39 and 9/16. It's pretty good, pretty square. Okay, so next are the two sides, and this is one of the most interesting panels because it has both a panel at the bottom and bars at the top. So it makes it for a more interesting glue up. And again, I'm going to start with the bottom part. Surprisingly, pretty square. So next we're going to do the back panel. And the back panel is the one that's completely closed off. So I'm just going to start with the gluing these in there. It's actually easier because there's no bars or anything, so it's just pretty straightforward. Okay, so it's time to glue up the front panel. And this is the front panel, is the one that has all the bars. And I've been debating on how to glue it up. Because of all those bars, it makes it take a long time to get them all in there. I thought about using liquid hide glue to extend the time, but I think what I've decided to do is glue it up in two stages. I'm going to start with gluing up the bottom. So I'm going to glue up the bottom stiles into the bottom rail. and just attach the top rail, square it all up, let that dry, and then once the bottom is dry, take off the top, put in the bars, and then just glue up the top. I think that's going to be the easiest way to ensure that I don't run into too many problems. So let's do that. Alright, so I'm going to let that dry and then come back and do the top and the bars. It's 100 degrees out today, so shouldn't take very long to dry. Okay, so it's been about an hour, and in the heat, it's now dark outside, but it's still like hot as hell out. It should be dry, so I'm going to take the clamps off. One thing I wanted to say is I got really lucky, but something to watch out for if you guys build this. When I put this together, as you know, I use dominoes, and when you're setting up with dominoes, you usually have a line, kind of like a biscuit joiner, you know, so that you know where to put the domino in the stile and in the rail. And I matched those lines up pretty right on, you know, while I was gluing it up. Now, what I didn't check that I should have checked is how square the rail was to the stile. Now, I got really lucky and ended up square because of the dominoes and the way that you line those up. But if you are building it with any other method, just make sure these are square to the bottom if you're only doing one, if you're only doing the bottom, right? Because these are going to have two doors in here, so the gap has to be square. So that was just a little note. I got really lucky. So I just realized that the camera was off while I was recording me putting on the hinges. But that being said, it's actually a really simple thing. I just put on these T-hinges and barrel bolt locks, and it's working really well. Hey guys, so I finally finished my dog crate sofa table, and I've put it in the house. The dogs like it. Here, good boys. Good boy. The dogs like it. It worked out real nice. Watch your feet. Watch out. Lock them in. No problem. Sturdy. Yeah, worked out really well. We always leave it open, but if we ever need to, it's better than having a regular dog crate in here. So we really like it. Thank you for following me on the channel and watching me build this, and we'll see you in the next one. These are my dogs. This is Gizmo. This is Gadget. Whoa! I'm sure you've seen them on the channel before, but I guess they should get a full introduction, right? Where'd you go? Good boys. Go in the crate. In your crate. Good boys. All right. See you in the next video.